845, Varsity man up. It's game time. Everybody stand up. From my town to yours, we ready for sure.
Justin Rodriguez here, back with the Varsity 845 football podcast with my co-host Kevin Gleason. Kevin, can you believe it? The playoffs are here.
Yeah, no doubt about it. It's a great time of year, and I think we have some really good matchups already coming up in the first round. I mean, it's not a lot of times kind of anticlimactic, some of these matchups because they've already played each other. But I think we got some juicy ones this weekend.
Well, Kevin, there you go again, jumping ahead. We're going to talk about last week's games, and then we will talk about the semifinals this weekend. So, Newburgh, Middletown, winner gets into the AA playoffs, loser goes home. It was a lot closer than we both thought. Newburgh wins 39-30. They were up 14-0 early. It looked like they were going to put Middletown away. They had some turnovers, but Middletown stepped it up. Jordan Bryan with almost 300 yards. Anthony DeBose with almost 300 yards for Newburgh. What'd you think?
Well, what struck me is how Middletown was able to match up with Newburgh, but not match up as well with Monroe. That was really striking to me because, Middletown and Newburgh, I think what they both have in common is speed. And it just baffles me at why they couldn't, with their Middletown speed, not match up better with Monroe. I was going to ask you your thoughts on that.
I was thinking the same thing. I thought when this Newburgh-Middletown matchup, I thought defensively they could hang, but I didn't know if offensively.
Yeah, I thought they'd get outscored big time.
I have no explanation for that, except for I think Middletown had a little better of a game plan against Monroe. I liked a few plays, a few pitches
against Newburgh.
Yeah, Middletown had a better scheme against Monroe, and Monroe's defense is pretty good. But yeah, I was baffled. And Bryan, they stacked the box a little against him, and Newburgh was aware of him, but he really stepped up. That was the difference. Yeah,
it sounded like, in talking to the Monroe people too before and after the game, they were just going to do everything in their power, and they wound up succeeding in shutting down Bryan. And Newburgh, just for whatever reason, weren't able to do that. And the kid went off a 99-yard run. It's just unbelievable. 275 yards, and
5 touchdowns.
Yeah, 5 touchdowns. This is amazing. So I don't know what it was that Middletown was able to hang with Newburgh, but we've talked about it before. it's just an unbelievable season for Middletown. The fact that they can really be a real player in Section 9 Class AA, whereas in the beginning of the year we thought they might be able to break 500, but we weren't really convinced that they could really be a player in the playoff run, the fact that they were that close was really, I thought, a huge step.
Yeah,
huge strides made in that program.
Yeah, they did a great job, and I enjoyed watching them play. The other big game, it was an upset. Washingtonville 24, Monroe 7. The Wizards beat Monroe for the first time since 1981.
Yeah, and over the years I've gotten to know that 1981 team a lot. Talking to Scott Pioli back in the day when he was essentially the general manager, director of player personnel for the Patriots. Went on from there to the Chiefs. Didn't work out as well with the Chiefs. But he was on that team, coached by Frank Green. And those guys who were on that team, on that 81 Washingtonville team, they still talk about how special that group was. And so it's funny that school always, or that year always kind of rings a bell with me. And it's wild that Washingtonville won that game. I not having seen it, talked to Don Clark afterward about it. And he said basically, the defense was just amazing. The defense really had a good handle on what Monroe was doing. I know Monroe Woodbury's have experienced some injury problems right now. I don't know how much of that played into it. But, I don't know what your thoughts are on that. But it looked like, Washington just kind of dominated that game.
Monroe's a little banged up, but I talked to Monroe coach Bernie Connolly and star running back linebacker Cole Jeanette. They both said Washingtonville came to play. We didn't. Washingtonville is 4-4, but they lost 3 divisional games. They lost 1 by 1 point, 1 by 6, and 1 by 7. So I had put on my blog, they are a playoff caliber team.
Oh, no doubt.
And, like Cole Jeanette said, it was their Super Bowl, and they came out swinging. It's a good wake-up call for Monroe. Hey, listen, you know what, Monroe? They've been doing it with smoke and mirrors on offense, and that's a credit to the coaching staff. I think, and I'll say this, I think their defense is going to have to carry them. They have Ryan O'Malley, I'm sorry, I almost called him McNally.
Yeah,
Kevin and Brian.
Jeez, all those Irishmen are the same, huh?
Yeah, but they have him, he's done a solid job, but they have Cole Jeanette at running back. I would go back to maybe some of their primetime teams. Maybe he would just be playing linebacker. He's a stud linebacker.
Right.
He's a great running back.
He did play both ways last year, right?
Yeah, but he's just getting beat up.
Yeah, sounds it.
Their center is out. Jesse Kaffenberger's been out for most of the year with a hamstring, almost Curtis Granderson style. So they're beat up. They're beat up, but like I said, they're going to have their defense carry them. We'll talk about their semifinal. We're going to move on to another rivalry game. Cornwall 26, Wallkill 6. That 6 points that Wallkill scored, I think, was against Cornwall's offense. So that means Cornwall's first-team offense in 8 games have given up 3 touchdowns.
Defense. Yes. Yeah, really impressive. I was just, honestly, knowing what Cornwall has and seeing the scores that they won by this year, I was just hoping Wallkill could make a game of it. And it sounds like, it was never really in doubt, but the fact that they lost by 20 is a lot better than what everybody else has done this year, right? Nobody has been within 20.
Yeah, and Wallkill, I think that's the rematch in the A final. But Wallkill is never going to let them go easy.
Right.
Another thing, the sophomore quarterback, A.J. Dombrowski, has had a great year, and Cornwall shut him down. One Cornwall defender told me before the game that he wanted to keep Wallkill to 0 points. And no, it wasn't Quinzito. I swear. But they basically did. So...
Mike Conley, the Cornwall coach, is a defensive genius. I'm telling you, what is he, 29 years old, I think? And this guy is an unbelievable defensive coach. He is so good. I would not be surprised to see him win a state title this year.
Well, let's go back to your old stomping grounds, Kev. That Queensbury team.
I know.
What they did on offense, where the ball... just a pile was moving for 8 yards. If he can stop that, hey, you know what? Move over, Rex Ryan.
I'm telling you right now, if anyone could stop it, Mike Conley could stop it. This guy is just unbelievable what he can pick up on film. He spends hours watching game film. This guy. And even in season, and I mean even off season, he's watching it every day. And he's just picked up so much through, growing up in a coaching family that he's really, if not already a special coach, he's really going to be a special coach.
He's done a great job. And the thing, Cornwall, they saw Queensbury. So some of the players couple that with Mike, and hey, you never know what could happen. Everyone wants to see people throw the ball and all that. I loved watching that Queensbury offense. It's amazing. It was amazing. Highland, as I expected, gave Marlboro a run. Marlboro wins 24-13. I thought that was really big when Marlboro, now Burke will get Highland in the semis. Marlboro gets Dover in the B, which we'll talk about.
Sure.
I think Highland will be a much tougher out. Then we had Port 31, New Paltz 7. New Paltz loses Harrison Zarelli, quarterback, early in the game, but it was all Port Jervis. There was no stopping them. They win, I believe, their first divisional title since 2001.
Yes, I believe that's what it was. And, great night at Port Jervis Friday night. They just, they really turned things around this year. I mean, they've been, okay playoff caliber team the last few years, but this year I think they really took another step forward.
So then we had Minisink 10, Roosevelt 6 to win that AA Division II. If Minisink would have lost, by that virtue of that win, Warwick got in. But if they would have lost, the Warwick game on Saturday would have meant more. And Warwick happened to lose to VC on Saturday. 14-7, VC's first win over Warwick since 1988 when Ron Introini, the coach, 15 seasons in the game,
I saw that.
Was a sophomore on Warwick's JV team. So again, Warwick is in the playoffs. But again, That's still a big win for VC. And now Warwick, 2 losses in a row heading into the playoffs. So struggling a little bit, 6-2.
Two really good teams they lost to.
Yeah, 2 good teams. So we'll go through the semifinals. We're going to go through the semifinals and then we'll wrap up. To keep in mind, no semifinals in C and D. So next weekend you have Millbrook Sullivan West. Will be a great game. Sullivan West come from behind win. Sullivan West, one of only 2 undefeated teams in Section 9 with Cornwall, and then you have Chester and Livingston Manor. To go back a few weeks ago, Kevin, scratch the reservations for Thanksgiving dinner at your favorite diner. You will be up in Syracuse with me, and we'll be enjoying a feast.
Yeah,
at some
I
point.
appreciate that. I've now left Thanksgiving open, and let's hope that Chester can fill it so I can miss the family gathering.
We'll. I think the schedule allows it where we can have Thanksgiving dinner and then go up there the next day. Class AA semifinals. Game 1. Since we just talked about them, Minisink versus Newburgh, the battle of the Hendershots, the Hendershot brothers. 2 of my favorite assistant coaches.
Yeah, no, they both do a great job.
But I'll tell you right now. First, DeBose. I've never seen a player run, and while he's running, one-handed take players and throw them off. He's not like staving them off. He's taking them and throwing them.
Right.
And I've seen him play before. I haven't seen him this year. He had missed 3 games. I was amazed by that. Newburgh Minisink, they got their own version of Thunder and Lightning. Sessa, the speedster, and Deontay Moore, they're a little more methodical. I'll say this. You score 10 points against Newburgh, you're going to get blown out.
Right. Yeah, there's no doubt about it. I'm a little concerned, actually, about Minisink with the Roosevelt game, because I thought Roosevelt, remember we talked about that last week? I sent out a warning to Minisink not to take them lightly. I don't know if they did. I'm sure they didn't. But Roosevelt's good, but I just think, like you said, Minisink, I just worry about them scoring enough, Yeah. They took care of Warwick 28-0 the previous week. Maybe there's a little bit of a natural letdown, even though they were,
On turf at Dietz Stadium.
They better put up 30, like you said, at least 30. And do they have enough defensively, to slow down Newburgh?
Minisink is good defensively, but do they have enough?
That's a lot. It's a lot to ask out of them. And it's even a lot to ask out of their offense to score those kinds of points. So I don't know. I think that's really, really, you'd have to, place Newburgh as the favorite in that game. But Minisink's, hey, listen, they haven't lost in a long time. They know how to win, and they're so tough, and well schooled and well coached. I certainly wouldn't be surprised if they beat Newburgh.
I would be. Kevin.
You would be. Okay.
I'd be very surprised. I love those players on Minisink too. Nate Lake, one of the toughest kids in Section 9.
Absolutely.
You don't want to mess with him in the trenches, but I'm going to take Newburgh comfortably, with all due respect. The other game, Monroe-Warwick. Warwick seeking its first win over Monroe. Guess the year.
First win from Warwick over Monroe since? I believe that was 1982.
No, I'll give you a hint. You were at Woodstock that year. No, I'm joking. 1979.
79, I was close. Actually, truth be told,
no, we don't want to know.
Okay.
You're only 37, remember? For our So I'm going to tell you this. Like I said, tribute to the Monroe coaching staff. They don't have a lot going on offense right now. They have potential. The quarterback's done a good job. They have some good wide receivers. I don't know if Kaffenberger will be back. But their defense has got to get them to the championship, and then we see what happens with Newburgh. I like Monroe in this game.
Let me ask you something. Let me tell you something. You naturally didn't pick it up. Warwick beat Washingtonville, correct?
Yeah.
And I know Washingtonville was beat up then. Don Clark insists, and I'm not about to doubt him, that those early season games, he had the worst injury epidemic he's ever had on a team, he said. And they're finally starting to get a little healthy. That might be part of it, too, with Washingtonville now. But Warwick beat Washingtonville. It was a really good Washingtonville team that they beat. Is Warwick going to go into that game thinking, you know what, we beat Washingtonville. Why can't we beat Monroe?
I think they will be.
Do you think Warwick has a legitimate shot at winning that game?
What's your definition of legitimate?
It wouldn't be an enormous upset if they won.
I think it would still be an upset. I'm going to
certainly be an upset, but
I'm going to take. I think Monroe's defense is going to shine.
So you think Monroe has a chance to win like they did against Middletown, 17-0, something like that?
No, Kevin, it's going to be 24-7.
All right, well, good. I'm glad you cleared that up
There's
for
your
me.
prediction.
Excellent.
24-7.
All right.
Book it. And I've been on the money with my Monroe picks. I had him pick 22-16 over Newburgh. It was 27-21. I had him 27-14 over Minnesink. It was 24-11.
Blind squirrel.
I don't remember my Middletown score, but I did have them winning it. I think it was like 28-7.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to go back through some of your predictions, I'll be armed with that next podcast. We'll go through some of those, just bizarrely atrocious picks on your part, in which you just got schooled by the readers time and time again.
I'm beating the readers, and I have been all year. But anyway,
All right.
Class A, Cornwall New Paltz. I love my man Tom Tegler at New Paltz. But that was the hard part of losing to Port. You now have to play Cornwall.
That's
Listen,
tough.
we know what's going to happen. Cornwall is going to roll to the Class A final.
That's a rough spot for Tommy. It really is.
I'll tell you what, though, Tegler, he's done a lot with that team. They have some talent, but first of all, let's go back to when he took over years ago. That was a doormat program.
Sure was.
The old school Ulster County athlete, has brought that to another level.
Absolutely.
He's done a good job.
And he's done a good job with the staff, too. I noticed that one thing. He always has a real solid assistant coaching staff.
Yep.
Too.
So, listen, it's a no-win situation for anybody. So I'm going to take Cornwall. Then you have Wallkill Port. I really would like to see, and I think they will, just for the sake of a good game, Port give Wallkill a battle. They played them. They lost 28-8, but even when I talked to Rory Boyce after that game, it was closer. I think they were up 2-0 after one. Port, perhaps.
That sounds right. I think Port's going to give them a heck of a game. I really do. I just have a feeling that Port Jervis is an all-time confident high right now, and they think and they believe that they can play with anybody right now. And you know what? I don't think they're going to win the game, but I think Wallkill at some point in the second half is going to wonder, be a little uncomfortable in the second half at some point before winning it, maybe
I think
early
Wallkill can run with Zach Slater. Cornwall shut him down. Who don't they shut down? They have Slater, and I think they have the wide receivers there, Nick Gomez, Trent Tucker, among others. I think that could be the difference in that game, their ability to throw the ball. But, like I said, Port, I think they've won 5 in a row, 5-3, so they're obviously pretty high on themselves. We'll talk Class B semis to wrap it up. Marlboro, Dover. I have to look this up, but I know off the top of my head, the last 3 years, Marlboro, when they've won the Class B title, it's been a demolition in the semis.
Right.
So I think Dover's a good team. They're probably a little bit better than I might have given credit, but I think Marlboro should win this pretty easily. Actually, I was talking to Kevin Ross last week, and he said, don't sleep on Dover. I don't know if he used sleep, being an ex-military man, but I like Marlboro in that game. And then the other one, it's intriguing. Burke Highland, because like I said, I've been saying Highland doesn't like playing third fiddle. They were in that Marlboro game. Highland's big up front. They have Matt to Marnell throwing the ball.
That's going to be a football game.
I think that's going to be a good game. I still like...
I do too. And talk to some Burke people the other day. I was over doing a story on one of their kids that's going to run in Monday's paper a week from today. So when you hear this, the coming up Monday. But
hopefully they're not eliminated when the story runs, Kev.
Yeah, that's right.
Like I said, I got Burke winning that game.
But I think I think Burke's probably going to win that game. But I think it's going to be a good football game. And I know Burke. They were actually Friday when I was talking to them. They were heading over to see the Marlboro game, and so that was they're really respectful of Highland.
Yeah.
Very respectful.
Well, like I said, the other thing you have to look at there is if you get beat up going into the Marlboro game. So
right.
That would be interesting. So again, that will be the semifinals. Again, you have the Class C and D, no semis, straight to the final. So we'll be out and about this weekend. I look forward to seeing everyone, talking to some players and coaches. For Kevin Gleason, this is Justin Rodriguez signing off for the Varsity 845 podcast.